Well, I'm going to assume some of y'all may have experienced, but some, maybe the rest of us, heard about this. Let me go ahead and give you this topic, and then I'm going to read a little bit, then I'm going to make a couple comments here. Manhattan goes dark. Major power outage hits New York City on anniversary of the 1977 Great Blackout. The anniversary of the 77 blackout. Now this blackout, from what I heard, it wasn't even a quarter of an area they were talking about compared to the 77 one. Let me read. This is Zero Hedge, and then I'm gonna tell you what my monkey mind is telling me. Update: Manhattan from Midtown South remains in darkness. The following before and after images shows the extent of the blackout. Whatever, it looks okay. And all those billionaires are stuck in their penthouses. View of Columbus Avenue, whatever, exactly 42 years after a massive blackout caused by a lightning strike at an electrical substation plunged New York City into darkness for 25 hours, with looters raiding 1,600 stores and over 1,000 fires set across the city. And someone says, yeah, today is the anniversary, so the 13th, of the 1977 blackout, which resulted in much looting around the city. That was just one part of a crazy year in New York City. What are the chances that 42 years later, half of Manhattan goes out of power? And they have pictures of people, they're outside, fine. The title really is all I needed to share with you. You already know about this. I'm sure you already heard about it. Again, statistical possible. Forget your mind, your emotions. Oh, that's not possible. Oh, that might be possible. Forget all that. If you were to put this kind of scenario in a computer and it would spit out statistics, I don't know the numbers, but I can assure you it would be pretty significantly absurd for an event that happened 42 years ago to happen on the same time, date, whatever. Again, 42 years now, later. In the same area. Same city, same area. So we had this little issue, we, the people, and they, the deep state. And Trump is pretty much steamrolling right now. The stuff coming up on Epstein is out of control. New victim, another victim. I was 21 years old. I've sent myself so many emails. Gosh, I should just compile them into one and do one little video. They're coming out of the woodwork. Now Epstein's mansion in New Mexico, out in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico, is maybe investigated. Oh, okay. The club, many of them Freemasons, by the way, just for whatever chance, whatever that means, they don't communicate like you think. And this is a practice that these secret societies have used for centuries and centuries. You read a news story and it's got a certain number of victims and a certain time it happened, and they're just telling you, or each other, they're telling each other, they're talking to each other. What specifically they're trying to say in certain events, that's up for debate, in my opinion. But they like to communicate that way. So the other ones know, oh, okay, got it. They're not going to send an email. They're not going to send a text. They're not going to pick up the phone. No. And again, even back in the day when they just had newspapers, they did the same thing. They communicated with each other through the newspapers. Certain keywords posted in a certain event or thing the article was talking about. Usually something that gets passed around, not just, local news, something kind of major, like this event right here in New York City. 42 years later, down to the day, basically, first thing I heard was, they drew too much power, the substation drew too much power, and right. Is the club telling themselves something right now? Is the secret society club, or clubs, telling themselves something? Get ready for something. Hey, that was us because here's blah, blah, blah. Don't know how to read that. The fact that it was a power outage event. Are we to expect much more in severe power outages? I mean, if I were to pull up some old WebBot stuff, I don't even have to. I mean, gosh, how many reports talked about big power problems coming? Don't have anything else better to do. Why don't I push pause for a second? It's just a little something from May 2017 report. This was not a crypto report. This is one of the regular WebBot report, author reports. And I'm finding a few little things here, but I saw under Canada pop. It's indicated to have to deal with a very large, or not a, but very large forest fires that will be one of the major themes of this summer, which again, that was 2017. And I think we did have some fires, by the way, up there. But again, I like to look at some of this stuff and say, you know what, it's probably going to be in the future. Because some of this other part I'm about to read it, I don't think has happened yet. Anyways, forest fires, that will be one of the major themes of the summer. Northern Hemisphere, these sets have the connection. Now, by the way, speaking of Northern Hemisphere and fires, has California seen its fair share of a fire since 2017? How about the one that happened not too long ago? You know, oh, it was stuff from space. It was energy from space doing it. No, it was PG&E or whatever that company's called. They had bad transform, whatever it was. Massive fires, Northern Hemisphere. Anyways, these sets have the connection between the fires and chemtrails to be brought up in the national discussion about the fires destroying Canadian forest lands. These sets have many people being involved in the fires, as in fleeing and being trapped and having residents destroyed. Now that sounds like exactly what happened in California. Not so much. I mean, a little bit in Canada, from what I understand. Not a lot, though. Other issues from the fire include significant illness and loss of power, electricity, and roads burned, and towns destroyed. No, we haven't had that yet. These sets are showing as being temporally close to lots of language about brilliant, as in bright, dominating sun, and intense afternoon sunlight, and other language about sun impact. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And further down, there is new growth for power problems that relate to political and trade power, as well as electrical power issues. The data has the trade power driving the politicians crazy over some problems not able to be teased out of the data details. It may be that the initial problems is starting up, but visibly, publicly, maybe some months away. Oh, how about Trump and his tariff spree? How about that? Sounds exactly like what he's talking about there. So, searching for more. South America, power center, power generation facility, Bitcoin mining. I'm just searching for certain keywords. So let me pause again. Here's just just a little interesting tidbit. A couple things here. There are sets for same report. There are sets for continuing power outages over 2017 and beyond. As the seismic activity levels increase over summer for USA Pop, so do the instances of power outages. Noting that at least some of these outages will be placed at the hands of anarchists or terrorists. There are, and again, who are the terrorists? Is it the club? Is it some guy in a, wrapped in a towel? I mean, who is it? So some will be at the hands of anarchists or terrorists. There are several that will be induced directly by energies from space rather than indirectly by humans driven crazy by energies from space. Please note that the use of place names in this work raises the level of ambiguity and thus inaccuracy of the forecast. This is due to the repetitious use of place names by humans. Note that the first thing that colonists do after moving someplace new is name everything in sight after the place they just left. Yet more data for the unwitting and unwilling shift of populations due to both economic factors leading to the immigration wave from other states to Florida and weather disasters. The data sets have very large growth in sets for population movement that will be due to economic concern that will be directly related to the Federal Reserve failures that are forecast to become visible over late summer Northern Hemisphere and into fall. Trump's been bashing the Federal Reserve lately, hasn't he? It's interesting. And one of the things he said was all these other countries, they're devaluing their dollars, they're lowering their interest rates. You know, everyone else seems to have a clue except for our Federal Reserve. They seem to be idiots or something like that. He actually posted that on Twitter. That's a pretty hardcore attack on the Federal Reserve. He's going to make sure that whatever happens, it's going to be blamed on the Fed. I mean, it's the Fed anyways. But our dirty, corrupt, rotten politicians that need the Fed to print money so that they can play their games doesn't help either. But the Fed, no problem. You create the treasury bonds, we create the money, and we attach interest to every dollar that comes out. Thank you. So that's interesting. Let's move on. Now, I just caught something. I'm glad I searched for the word power, and I realized, boy, there's probably going to be a lot of word power. Power struggle, powerful elite, you know, like the word power could be in the Webbot report, in this case, 34 times. But as I'm scanning for the word power and electricity related stuff, I find something very interesting that I feel is happening right now with the whole Epstein, the Democrats infighting. Pelosi's now attacking AOC. AOC's back attacking Pelosi, calling them racist. But the power was in Epstein's hand. He was able to get things done, keep his records sealed until recently. The power has shifted. The elite do not have control like they used to. Epstein being one of them. So I see this little paragraph, and it's very interesting. There are new data sets for the upending of the power relationships within both USA Pop ruling elite and global elites. These new sets are showing that truth bombs. How many stories have come out of Epstein lately? And the Democratic Party, truth bomb. You guys only wanted the illegal vote, and that was it. You didn't care about the Democratic American citizens that are voting for you. You guys are taking questions and answering it in Spanish. That might be the first time ever in United States history during a Democratic debate. They took questions in Spanish and answered in Spanish in America. Me and the cab driver or the Uber driver when I was in California recently, LA. Very nice guy, clearly a Democrat. We need to take down Trump, and I said, well, I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody's gonna be able to take down Trump. Did you see the Democratic debates? They're speaking Spanish. He goes, oh God, I know. What are they doing? I can't believe that. I said that's why they're not going to win. They're not going to be able to produce something that can take down Trump. And look at California. It's like, look at the gas price. He goes, I know. It's like there's $1.20 or $1 something in just taxes and gas. It's crazy. He goes, and this is not the first time. We've seen a bunch of them. I said, well, let me ask you a question. How long have you been here? Oh, 20-something years. Okay. How many gas tax increases do you think you've experienced over that time period? Oh, I don't even know. I have no idea. Too many. So every time he would say something, I'd say, yeah, but they did this and they screwed themselves. Yeah, but Joe Biden, I think he could win. I said, Joe Biden? You really think he could win? Oh, yeah. I think he could beat Trump. But didn't you find it kind of odd how he kind of little too touchy-feely with some of the young kids and girls that, he'd say one thing, and I'd have to tell him, well, what about that? Oh, yeah. Well, maybe that, what about that? Yeah. But we talked about the infighting, the Democrats fighting against each other. This power struggle is real. So, truth bombs. He agreed, the border. He said, he says, I said, you understand where all your tax money, your income tax, state income tax, all this is going, right? It's going to illegals, people who don't contribute, but take. And you're paying for it. And at one point in the conversation, I'd asked him, maybe in the very beginning, do you do this full time or is this like a side job? Or he goes, no, unfortunately, I do it full time. Unfortunately, I'm full time. So you don't like being an Uber driver because you can barely make ends meet, is what you're telling me. However, if you were an Uber driver in Florida, it might be a little easier. Just going to say that. or other states, some other states. But he recognized. He said, "I know these illegals. We can't. It's the bill. It's unbearable. We can't deal with it. We have to do this right. We've got to get the right people in, and they have to do it the right way. They can't come in illegally." And so I'm like, when I'm having a conversation with this guy, he sounds like a Trump supporter. But then when he makes the case for we got to get rid of Trump and get a Democrat out there, I'm telling him all the reasons why you can't. Well, what about that person? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah. What about that? Yeah, I can't do it. What about, yeah, I can't. There's nobody left. I said that I'm afraid there's not going to be anybody left at the end of the, when it's time to actually vote. When the election actually shows up, I said, we may find some major corruption comes out, big time, and a lot of the, contenders are taken out. Resign, jail, something. I said not to say that it won't be on the Republican side either, but I don't think there's anything on Trump, so they're not going to do anything to him. So speaking of some truth bombs, these sets are all showing that truth bombs will be released against each other, as in the elite, as the various factions become embroiled in battle. Pelosi, AOC. These sets describe truth battles as the deep state becomes both a weapon and a target within the open battles within politics. This was written in 2017. Isn't that amazing? The data sets have the elites becoming open targets themselves within the truth battles as the unseen and unacknowledged war continues. Do you realize some of the mainstream media has actually been reporting on Epstein? The guy that had all the money, could buy off anybody, shut up anybody, reduce the sentence, give me 1 day, a few hours in jail, but then work released for the rest of the week for my sexual crimes back, in 2007. He was able to do that. And now the mainstream is actually talking about him. There's even some Democrats who have mentioned this guy in disgust. Isn't that amazing? Let me pause and try to get back on track. All right, so I scanned through a couple other ones, September 2017. And there's more stuff about Canada again. It's kind of a similar story. Power structure, like, not even power electrical, but like the power structure, like I just read you, the elite stuff, infighting, like, you forget about this. 2 years ago, I don't remember what the hell the webbot said, which report, which one, there's 5 of them released that year. But you go back and read some of it and you're like, holy crap. Oh my God, that's making sense right now. 2 years later, So anyways, I don't know. This whole blackout thing, I lean more to the conspiracy side that they're communicating with each other. What it means, on the other hand, that could be up for debate. But the fact that they use the power outage to talk, is a bigger one coming? I don't know. But that's it for now. Take care.